Last week, I found the big picture that Eugen shared riveting. For me, it was like watching a cliff-hanging drama. He said this is a rare moment in history, and that as old structures crumble, there will be a cry for truer direction. So it's a unique time when conscious agents of light coming forth in their leadership can begin forming a transcendent nation. So Eugen said it's time to offer our leadership, whether we feel prepared to offer it or not. Do you hesitate to offer leadership? So I want to talk about leadership today, including our aversion to leadership and our reluctance to offer it. And specifically, the kind of leadership that AOL School, Art of Living School, focuses on is what we call spiritual leadership. So what are some of the differences between spiritual leadership and the leadership that is common in the world? We could probably name many things, but I'll name 5. Spiritual leadership leads by example versus issuing edicts and orders. Second, spiritual leadership helps draw forth the best in other people, including other people's leadership. And the highest value for spiritual leadership is what's best for the whole, not for oneself. It seems from the news that in some nations, the leaders are more interested in being re-elected than the health and life of their people. Mm-hmm. So the 4th is spiritual leaders build agreement versus imposing ideas. And 5th, spiritual leaders accept responsibility, actually 100% responsibility, instead of blaming others. So with these standards, what do we see about most of the leadership in the world? And no wonder there is aversion to leadership. But accepting spiritual leadership is actually just accepting our mature adult responsibility that is naturally ours to offer. A little over a week ago, a number of us in Korea enjoyed a wonderful example of spiritual leadership on television. I'll show this slide. So the picture you see is of one of our long-time alumni in AOL School, Kim Jung-sun, and it's called the Jung-sun effect. So there was a TV show about a famous TV program host who many years ago was Jung-sun's student. It was really beautifully done. I think it was over 30 minutes. And it showed how he wanted to find her and thank her. He met her when Jung-sun was in her first year of teaching. And they had not been in contact since. So he described how Jung-sun reached out her hand of hope and actually changed his life. Now when she did that, she wasn't thinking, I'm offering my leadership. She just saw this student's need and naturally wanted to help him. And she made some simple suggestions, but they changed his life. Helping people discover their own true leadership is one of the primary purposes of our AOL school. We help people release what's blocking them and connect with universal power and wisdom to offer their unique leadership. fear and shame often block people from even recognizing their leadership, let alone accepting it. And people with a high standard of character are often reluctant to accept leadership because they have not healed or rectified what they see as flaws or mistakes in their lives. Actually, often people of lower character and morality are quicker to take leadership roles. I heard earlier this month on BBC News podcast something about women leaders of nations actually handled the pandemic better than men leaders. So in this broadcast, they asked the question, why aren't there more women leaders? This expert said that men who are just 60% qualified put themselves forward for leadership, but women who are 120% qualified hesitate to offer themselves for leadership. So I hope this will bring courage to women, especially in Korea, to offer their leadership. Another reason people are reluctant to offer leadership is pressure. Pressure stirs the unhealed patterns that bring up fear, shame, etc. And especially now, the pressure from this corona pandemic is very high and it's surfacing shame and fear. But that pressure is bringing a unique opportunity. Do you realize that this is the first time that all mankind has glimpsed the necessity for real change? That brings an unprecedented opportunity for collective transformation. I did a bit of research recently to see what spiritual or consciousness groups, to see who is speaking to this unprecedented opportunity for collective transformation. Presumably, that is what spiritual and consciousness groups are devoted to, the awakening of humanity. Well, I didn't have time to check 100 groups, but I checked 12, quite well-known ones. Out of those 12, I found only one was speaking to this. The essence of what most others were saying was how you can cope through this pandemic. So I pondered why. Why are they not speaking to this opportunity for massive transformation? It's quite possible many in these groups are seeing it. But in the current climate of fear and blame, they're reluctant to speak about it. But I think there may be a deeper reason. I felt that in what some of them were expressing, what I'm about to say. The pressure of this pandemic is surfacing shame over these leaders' unrectified mistakes and flaws. So we can see how important it is to do processes such as we offer in the AOL school that help clear shame and fear from unhealed patterns. Otherwise, those unhealed patterns block our leadership. So how do we offer leadership? And what is our approach to leading? Beyond what I said earlier, I want to share something that clarified a lot from me and actually inspired me. It was from a presentation by David Lesser 18 years ago in a deepening. David joined Eugen and me on faculty in many classes. I changed some of the words so they would be easier to translate, and it would take hours to consider all the implications of this. But it's useful to begin to look at the different levels people use in offering leadership. Okay, so levels of leadership. And so that this is more than just a concept, I'm going to use an example of creating a year-end event for AOL School. So we'll call the first level action.